for ARPA Advisory Committee. Today is June 28th. I do not know if we're being recorded.
I think we are because the light keeps moving
Oh,
around.
we are likely being recorded. Whether or not we're broadcast live, I am not sure, but that's okay. First thing we have is open meeting. I don't think we have anyone here from the public, so we'll move on. Approval of minutes. The only minutes I sent out so far are May 11th. They were in the, well, I didn't send them out. They were in the packet. Did folks review or wait till next time?
I did not review.
Okay, so we'll hold off till next time. I did talk to David last night about possibly asking if Tony can do some of our outstanding minutes for January 27th, March 24th, and March 29th to get us caught up on those. Find if I don't do the minutes within 48 hours of the meeting, I get behind. So, alright, open session, we covered updates and new info related to ARPA funds. I think when Ryan was speaking last night at the select board meeting, he just mentioned that the second round of ARPA he applied for, and I think they were looking at it coming in a few weeks to the bank account for that. Other than that, the only other update is because the Habitat for Humanity piece passed for CPC, that $25,000 that we originally appropriated should return back to our coffers. So that will bring our balance up to $428,746. Although you still have a slightly higher number, Susan, so I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think it's a typo, but that, I peeled that off of something you emailed us in April.
Okay,
So, anyway, then whatever the number is.
okay, we'll go back to that. Alright, next thing, discussion of, well, there's discussion of matrix scoring and ranking, but I wanna hold on that, I wanna go on to reviewing the second round application first, cause I think that's gonna give us the basis for where we go. So everyone should have 4 sheets of paper in front of them.
So Heather, just to clarify
Sure.
for the people that are watching, when you're talking about the second round of funding, you're not talking about what we're doing this application for,
No.
correct? You're talking about the subsequent round. So really it's a second round of ARPA, but it'd be a third round as far as we're concerned.
No. So to clarify, what I'm talking about is with regards to the money coming to the town itself, it was promised to us in 2, I think the word they're using is tranches.
Tranches.
So the first tranche came last spring, or summer. The second tranche is now available for us. So some of the money we've already appropriated will come from that piece because, we've already, appropriated or promised up to over 50% of what we have, so more than what we have in the bank. This is just the second check coming to us. So this is not additional funding beyond what we had originally planned. This is simply just money going in the bank so we can actually proceed to expend.
This is the original funding, the second half of it.
Yes, yes. It has nothing to do with where we are in our rounds of ARPA requests.
There is talk of a second round of funding, right?
So ARPA, they've been talking quite a bit about, extra funds and where to do with them and how to disperse them and so forth, but there's nothing else that currently is conclusive at this time other than what we have.
Right.
And just to be clear, because pronouns are confusing, when you say they in this context, you're referring to the state, because it's my understanding the state has additional money that's left over.
When I'm talking they in this case, I'm talking anyone but us, so state and or federal.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know if it's crystal clear either way of where additional funds are gonna come, if they do come.
Yeah, I think there was talk, if David was here, he would know all the answers, but I think there was talk of additional federal monies, and the state is also working on their own version of ARPA that they're trying to figure out how they're going to distribute, if they do at all.
Alright, does that clear everything up? Alright, so we have a 4-page document. Susan was kind enough to work on this. I'm not sure if she slept last night. But she was very productive with this piece. So what I wanna do is I wanna go through page by page and just see how it goes and give everyone an opportunity to take a look, cause people may not have read it before tonight. So this is essentially the application and the instructions combined into one. So we wouldn't have 2 documents we'd be putting out there, Susan, we'd have 1, correct?
Right.
Okay, and this is the idea for those who've been following us to try to take into consideration questions we had asked last round that we thought would be helpful for applicants to have in advance, and also really honing in on the information that we're looking for so that everyone can use their time most efficiently. That being said, the first section here we have is introduction. I'll just pause for a second, give everyone a chance to take a look at this. And then if there's any thoughts or questions or changes. Anyone have any thoughts or questions on the introduction section? Everyone?
Do we want to add anywhere, some examples for people? Like we have one for reimbursement for revenues lost as direct negative economic impact of the COVID-19 application part A. Do we wanna put, example given, here's an example of what that would be? And then do it for each of those. So for capital expenditures might be purchasing that ditch thing or whatever. Or purchasing air purification systems for your business or something along that lines. I'm just wondering if that might help when people are looking at the application going, is there anything that I could actually apply for? And not really reading into what's written here. If they saw, funding for capital expenditures, I'm running a business, and maybe one of the examples would be air purification system. Does something like that apply to my business? Yes or no, right?
So, I guess in my mind, so the reimbursement for revenues lost, so we had at least one or two people who are confused by this piece, right? So if I'm understanding this, how we have this divided up, Susan, this would be for the section of essentially calculable revenue loss. So this is when we have someone show us the last normal year, FY19, and then FY20, FY21, you're showing there is a deficit or a difference in the amount that they were able to take in.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could do it as an addendum at the end rather than filling up the introduction part.
Well, I mean, the other option going into these other ones is we could do it at the very top, if we want, at the very top of any of the sections that are relevant. But I think that's probably merged in, cause she already, Susan on like part B goes into a capital expenditure as an expenditure to acquire capital asset or an expenditure to make additions, improvements, modifications, replacements, or rearrangements, reinstallations, renovations,
Mm-hmm.
alterations to capital assets that materially increase their value or useful life. So she does a very thorough description there. So I don't know, what are the thoughts?
I will tell you my strategy with this was to try to keep things to a single page.
No,
So I'm
what I'm
open-
seeing here is
I'm-
excellent.
I'm open to an example, and I would do it as a separate.
Maybe having a
as
separate
fifth-
page of
as a fifth
examples,
page.
right? So for the thing around revenues lost,
Mm-hmm.
we might have an example and the list of expectations to fill out that application for revenues lost. I know I haven't had a chance to review all of these, but I'm sure it's already listed in of the things that you need to provide. But
I think on part 1, at the bottom of the section, if applicant's not a town board, committee, or department, please attach balance sheets and profit and loss statements for 2019, 2020, 2021, and the first half of 2022 ending June 30th.
Where are you seeing that?
It's on the next page. It's under-
sorry, part
it's on
part A,
Okay.
at the bottom, second to last box.
Right.
But I like what Susan's suggesting, that she do a 5th page of just some examples, and
Yeah.
whether we make it generic, Susie's shop.
I'm gonna see if, the final rule has examples
Okay.
that I think might be suitable, because I'm not inclined
To make shit up.
exactly.
Well, I was gonna say, just we could Susie's shop, the cases we've already approved.
I don't wanna do that
Okay,
either.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna do that either. I agree with Susan, taking it directly out of the final rule, if there's
I
examples.
I
the right
bet
way to
there's
do it.
examples floating around in
I'm
there,
sure.
cause
Yeah.
they're usually
I'm sure.
with stuff
I'm
like
just,
that.
I'm just trying to avoid people coming here with incomplete
They're
applications.
going to, that's why we're gonna have a workshop.
Yeah,
But at the same time, with all due respect to our businesses, if you're running a business, this should not be a mystery.
no, it should not.
There should not be any confusion as to
It-
what revenues are,
It
and
it shouldn't. I
things
would just
like
like to
that.
see them come to the workshops a little more prepared.
Mhm.
Right. Oh, you mean I had to bring that?
Well,
It was called out there in the application.
yeah, so, okay.
Do we
Alright.
want any language in there that says, applications that fail to provide necessary information will not be considered?
Yes, it is on the very bottom of
Applications that are
page 1.
incomplete will not be accepted for consideration, Mike. It's like Susan read your mind, bold statement, last page.
Yep. Sorry, I just haven't had a chance to
That's
No
all right,
review
we're
any of
hopping
those.
around, we're hopping around,
Alright,
Yeah.
so other than that, introduction, everyone cool with the intro?
Yes.
KP?
What's this, successful applicants will be required to sign a binding agreement?
That's left over from the first, RFP, which I assumed was legit.
Did we do that for all the first recipients?
Well, we might have put, it wouldn't have been something we would do, it would have been David or,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens at the select board level and
We-
at the, and at the actual,
that we've,
award stage of things.
Is that an ARPA requirement though? Cause I think we should find out if we've done that with the people we've already awarded money to.
well, I think we had put it in this and,
Have they?
David would have been the one to, I don't know if he's actually disseminated money
Yeah, has
outside of
anybody
the
gotten
town
any
yet.
money? Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case, but we can find out. I think it should be in there, cause it's,
I would think that they would, because this,
Yeah, I like the
they're
idea,
gonna say
but,
that they're gonna do what they said, take the money and do what they said they were gonna do with it.
cause it's essentially a grant, especially to outside entities.
I think we should ask Ryan if we
I've
Have
made
a-
a note.
have a method to do that.
Okay, other thoughts or questions
I'll
on that first
copy
page?
him on this, copy Ryan. Is David still working with us? What's David doing?
No, I don't
David's
believe
gone?
he is. I
Alright.
believe David's formerly retired.
Alright, well, I thought there was some holdover period, but I lost track of all of that.
I think that has come, that has
So it's
gone.
gone, okay. You too.
So is there going to be, say an application comes in that's incomplete, is there gonna be a notification to the applicant that their application is incomplete? Or are we just gonna file it?
So we did talk about that last time, about the possibility that when people submitted their applications, cause we do have here, let's see, applications are due August 1st, and we were gonna look at them August 7th, and then we were gonna give everyone a week to make up any changes they need to do to get back to us by August 14th.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
So, well, you have the
So on
two
our
dates here.
August
so
7th, it would
that's-
be
Well,
marked
no,
as an
that wasn't what I
incomplete.
meant.
Oh.
I was thinking that gave us 2 sessions to review what we had August first being the hard deadline. You had the opportunity to get your act together at the workshop, and I can't help you after that. But it's obviously up to all of us, but that was my thinking when I wrote this.
I think
But
that's.
if we're gonna invite people in and then have some sort of a cure period, we can,
That we had previously discussed that, of
Did we?
doing like a
Okay.
notice of deficiency.
Okay.
And giving them a hard deadline off that, but that we wouldn't accept any applications past what the due date was. We would check them for completeness, nothing else, and then give a notice of deficiency if there were deficiencies. And then that was a hard stop.
Out of curiosity, since I don't have a calendar, Susan, August 1st, 7th, and 14th, or what days of the week?
I don't remember, but I think they were.
So what's the time frame on that? So
So,
August 1st, we get the applications, we review them, something's wrong, we send it back to them within a week, next day,
August
few
1st is a
days.
Monday.
August 7th is a Sunday.
Oh,
I don't wanna
screwed
meet
up.
on that, Susan.
So
Sorry.
Thank
1,
you.
8, and 15.
All right, let's change that. Well, when
When's the
is
select board's meeting?
When's the select board meeting?
We're doing 1st and 3rd.
All right, so let's do different dates.
I don't remember what we had specified previously for a timeline, but we had marked it out originally.
KP, do you have access to the minutes on your computer? From May 11th, they would have been in the folder for today's meeting, which may or may not be labeled 6/28, might be labeled 6/2.
file can't be opened because I'm offline.
Okay. July 20th is what day of the week?
July 20th
Yeah,
is a Wednesday.
a Wednesday, okay. And August 1st, you said is a
Monday.
Monday?
Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, so we need to change the 7th and the 14th. Two dates that week that you like.
Chris, do you have your planning board schedule?
Not yet, but we're gonna stick with 1st and 3rd as far as I know.
Okay. So that week can't be a Thursday. KP, you're out for Wednesdays. How about I know, Chris, you're gonna hate me, but how about the Tuesdays that week? The week of the 7th and the week of the 14th. I see the glaring look, but can't do the Monday, cause we're gonna have select board meeting. I can't do the following Monday, cause I'm gonna have a different select board meeting.
I can try to find a way to make it work.
Okay,
Okay, so the 9th and the 16th?
yes.
Is this what you're talking about here, the second round?
Yeah, so
Okay.
before we had June 1st applications available, June 15th online info session workshop, July 18th applications would be due, so that was like a month and a half. July 20th and 21st, so 2 days later, and then back-to-back days, meeting or I think we have either or, meeting to review for completeness. August, final review for completeness in or out, and then ranking applied, and then meeting with applicants the following meeting. But we don't have dates for those. So we didn't have anything too hard fast. But if the applications are available before July 1st, and they will be at this rate, cause we'll make a couple, as long as a whole here, we're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Applications will be available, before July 1st. Workshops 20 days in, so it gives them a little time to look at it and so forth, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
They then still have 10 days to get their application in after the workshop. And then from there, we have a week to all review to figure out where the deficiencies lie.
Yeah.
And then that first meeting, all we're talking about is it complete or not complete? And then we will send notices through Ryan to people via their email of anything they're deficient on, and they will have 1 week to get it back to us.
All right,
Mhm.
we're gonna add name and email.
Yes.
And how many
Alright, so what's happening on the 14th, well, we just said it wasn't the 14th, what is it, the 15th?
The 16th.
16th.
Yeah, so then the 16th would be.
So the 8th, we're gonna review for deficiencies. The 16th, what are we gonna do? Review,
So the 9th, we're gonna review
Substantive.
for deficiencies.
August 9 is the date, and then August 16th,
Yes.
later.
we're gonna do the same thing?
Well,
No.
16th, we're gonna say, okay, essentially, let's say the
Here's
first
our
week we go
list.
through, yeah. First week we go through, let's say we get 10 applications, we go through 5 are complete, 5 are not. Send the deficiencies out to those 5, adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Next meeting comes, we take those last 5 and we say, are they complete or not? Which should take a matter of moments, and then
Mhm.
at that point, we would then rank or do whatever we're gonna do with them,
Mm-hmm.
which we will go back to this evening once we complete the application.
So what if there's deficiencies on the 16th?
Then they're
out.
done.
They're out.
What if there's new applications that come in between the 9th and the 16th?
We're not
They're
we're
9
not
days too late
we're
and
not
16
accepting
days too
them.
late.
Okay.
Denied.
Yeah.
Denied.
Thank you for participating.
Denied.
It's like sending
If
in
there's
a
another,
resume.
if there's another round of ARPA, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's like sending in a resume after the deadline. Deadline is at 5.
After the job's
5:01.
filled.
Denied.
Exactly. Okay. Everyone good with how to submit your proposal? Schedule and question section of this page.
Alright, schedule we're gonna fix.
Yes. Everyone's good? Alright,
Yes.
Okay. Alright, part A, so this is just the main application that everyone has to fill out. Susan and I will just double check, before I go the available funding, make sure that number is correct. Double check my spreadsheets here. Name of applicant, address, we're gonna include email address
I'm gonna add phone
and
also.
phone.
Yeah.
Description of the applicant's trade or business, purpose or mission, town function if a board, committee or department. Form in which the applicant does business. Name of officers, Hubbardston residents who the applicant serves, and amount requested. So this is the generic everyone completes piece. It has the 2 caveats. If you're an applicant that's not a town-related body, then you're required to submit balance sheets and profit and loss for 19, 20, 21, and 22 first half. And if you are a town-related, then you have to submit your FY 23 budget allocation for the applicant. Chris?
So on this section, in the instructions, we're directing people who have revenues lost to complete application part A. And application part A, it has the amount requested, but it doesn't have any specific questions related to the lost revenue itself or the specific impact or justifying the amount.
We are gonna figure that out ourselves from the balance sheets and the profit and loss statements like we did the last time, is what I was thinking.
But do you think they should at least declare?
Or are you thinking more of the questions that we've traditionally asked everyone for lost revenues, which is, did you apply for funding from? I usually rely on you, Susan, for those acronyms, cause I don't have them top of
Yeah,
my head.
we did walk down, well, and by we, I mean you, walked down a line of questioning related to that really was, illustrative of what we were looking for. So I don't know if that's something, I guess we can still do it from that perspective, but I don't know if it's worth putting it in there since we know we're gonna be asking questions.
Well, I don't remember doing anything other than an ad hoc basis based on what we were given, and all I did was take a look at the financial statements and try to sort out what the deltas were. I think one of the,
But you consistently asked, what was it, the paycheck?
Yeah, whether they applied for PPP
oh,
or-
PPP loans?
And then there were a couple other questions you also always asked, Susan.
No. Okay, I believe you.
But I think to Chris's point, I just think
Please
it's
fill
good-
out the Susan gauntlet.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it for the cameras.
The name recognition?
For the cameras.
It's there now.
Appendix S.
Let's see, well, then we're gonna have to have parts A, B, C, and D. Is that what we want?
I think that makes sense.
Alright.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, just to
Alright.
be clear, so A is the general application.
Yeah, we need a
B is revenue loss, C will be capital expenditures, and D will be everything else.
Alright, well, tell me what else I asked. Freaking genius, but I can't remember it.
I'll have to go to the video.
Yeah. Any PPP bonds, any other, I guess any other sources, which is similar to what?
Well, the question was essentially, if you're drowning, what did you do to try to stay afloat?
Yeah, and how were their operations actually impacted?
So if I'm filling out part A, I'm also filling out part B, is that the thought process?
Well,
No.
we're gonna create a new.
So A is gonna stay the same, KP, right? The difference is the bottom two pieces of A are gonna go away, where it says if the applicant's not a town board, balance sheets and profit loss statements. And then what will happen is, we'll add those questions of inquiry. And then part B, what you currently have in your packet, that is part B will become part C, and inserted in that will just become those line of inquiry questions for part B. So you have 4 parts. Everyone fills out A, right? Everyone. Whatever you're doing, you have to fill out A. It's the contact information, contact sheet. This is how we know who you are. Part B is just for lost revenues, which doesn't currently exist here. Part C would then be the capital expenditures, and part D would be everything else. Does that make sense? You're following me?
I like how C becomes capital expenditures, it makes it easy to remember.
C for capital? Okay.
Alright, so for lost revenues, my recollection was, use of the funds was not restricted in the same way that, capital expenditures or our projects and programs, Part D, applicants would be restricted. So I don't care so much about the use of the funds. So I'm gonna ask if there's any PPP loans or any other sources of money, used for operations. What else do you wanna know from the?
Used or applied for? And then if applied, did they receive any? Because most of the people we spoke to either didn't apply or they said they applied and they did not receive funds. I would envision that becomes more important in the event that we have a longer list of businesses that all of a sudden put in for it. And if you can't fund all of it, you have to figure out,
Mm-hmm. What else do we wanna know about that?
Your other question you often ask people is business back to normal?
We'll know that from our first half of 2022.
Okay.
As we compare it to 2019, for what that's worth.
On the section where it says, if an applicant is a town board, committee, or department,
Mm-hmm.
please provide budget allocation for the applicant. Is that asking for more information than I want a fire truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because, and I wanna keep these last 2 things actually on the to be completed by all applicants, because I wanna know what everybody's stuff is.
I guess,
Yeah.
I know it's been a hot button for me, but I just take issue with, I want a fire truck.
No, I
I'm
know.
not disagreeing that we need one, I
No,
think
I
if
know.
you're spending $500,000 or asking for $500,000, you should make a little bit more of a justification than that.
Right, well, that message I think got through to Chief Hayes, so
Okay.
I think that's gonna work.
No offense intended, Chief Ace.
That's right. The,
Camera behind you is the one that's recording.
No, no offense.
because I wanna see, whether it's the fire department or whoever it is who's asking, whether some, or whether any part of the ask might already be handled in a line item.
Right.
Okay.
It's not.
So with that being said, does everyone go with the basic information with those modifications we've discussed?
Yes.
Susan will work on it.
Yeah, part B is gonna be pretty short, just saying.
Okay, so
We only have
part
a
B's
couple-
for
we only have a
capital.
few things. No, new part B.
Oh, new part B,
New part
yes,
B
this is
for lost
becoming part
revenues.
C.
Yeah, alright, so we're done with that. Alright, part C.
Capital expenditures, description of the assets applicant proposes to purchase, improve, and modify, purpose to which that they will put these assets. Hubbardston residents who these assets are intended to serve, for example, seniors. The budget for these expenditures with supporting documentation, including purchase and sale price, bids or estimates, including labor, material costs, and any other cost-related documentation. The source of the assets if purchased, and services, who is the seller who's providing the labor, materials, and or services. Proposed schedule for purchase or completion, and availability of other or additional sources of funds to fund applicant's capital expenditure. Is there anything else that we can think of that we'd like to add, or anything we'd like to modify, change, or delete? Everyone good? KP,
I'm good.
Mike,
Yes.
Chris? Susan, you wrote this, so I presume you're good.
Fantastic.
Okay, so next page, which is now Part D, formerly known as Part C. For applicants seeking ARPA funds for programs or projects that do not involve capital expenditures. Description of applicant's program or project, purpose of the program or project, Hubbardston residents whose applicant's program or project is intended to serve, the budget and schedule for the program or project, supporting documentation, sources of any goods or services required for applicant's project, proposed schedule for completion, availability of other additional sources of funds for applicant's program or project. So the only other question, I wonder if it might be beneficial to add, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, we can always wait and I can ask it when we interview folks. But for part C, which is now capital, and part D, which is the everything else, would it be advantageous to add this question of, if ARPA did not provide the funding for this program or project, would it happen anyway? That was one of the things on the matrix I really liked the question for, on whether or not, you're just looking for money from us because, we're here.
Cause someone else said no.
Well, isn't that availability of other or additional sources of funds? Doesn't that answer it?
I don't know.
I think you want a clear answer to a clear question.
Well, think of it,
Are you gonna get,
is it going
who's
to?
gonna say yes to that question? Not me.
Well, but, okay, let's talk about the fire truck for a moment, right? A good example. Most towns will find a way, often will say no to a Prop 2.5, but when you say we need to buy a new fire truck, people will vote in favor and support of buying a new fire truck.
Mm-hmm.
So if we say no to the fire truck, I don't think the answer is gonna be we're never getting a fire truck. But perhaps the deck for the seniors might be different, and there might be less town support for a deck for the seniors.
Pretty much guaranteed it definitely would not be town support.
And therefore, if it was not funded through ARPA and the assistance of, state
Right.
funding, it would not happen. So that would be a good example of, this would not happen but for the opportunity that is available because of ARPA. So again, it doesn't have to be included, I'm happy to ask the question to every single applicant when we do it, I'm just wondering if it's advantageous to stick it on here, or if we feel like it's gonna be a discussion with everyone and therefore it's not relevant and we don't need to put that out there ahead of time.
I think it is a discussion with everyone, because like I think about in terms of lost revenue, like, well, this revenue is lost, you've gone without it for 2 years or whatever at this point. What's the impact of getting it versus what's the impact of not getting it? And I think it's possibly that maybe it is a question that we talk about, because I don't know that it lends itself, I don't know, but I see where you're going with it and I see the potential value of it.
Yeah, I think the idea would be that this is the basic, just the facts stuff, and then we're gonna have other questions that will occur to us when the applicant comes in, so I think this doesn't have to be overly
Okay,
complete,
okay.
I don't think. You think?
I think that should be the common questions.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be an exhaustive list by any
Right.
means,
yeah,
but it should be the common questions.
right.
And I do think asking, are you seeking an alternative form of complete funding for your project? So that you're essentially just doing the shotgun approach of, I'm gonna apply for as many things as possible.
So,
But to KP's point, is anyone ever gonna admit to that?
well, I would hope they would be truthful in their applications. I mean,
That's one way to to weed them out, is put
well,
the
then
question
that,
in.
well, that's why I wanna that's why I wanna look them in the eye and ask them and make them
Yep.
lie to my face if
Right.
that's where we're going
Right.
with this.
Okay,
What we could say instead of availability of other or additional sources, you could ask, are you pursuing?
Yes.
Do you wanna do that instead? Are you seeking other or additional sources of funds?
I mean, to me, I'm still more concerned with the last question that I had, which is a slightly different form of, you know, whether or not this project's going to move forward with or without ARPA funding. Because whether they pursue it or not, right? I don't mean to pick on the fire department, but going back to the fire truck, right? If you ask the question, are you pursuing, they could say, no, I'm not.
Well,
Well, they're not, because the capital plan shoves everything
Yeah.
Right.
off. I mean, we know the answer to that, to
Right.
Yeah,
that
but,
question.
but they're not pursuing it, but it doesn't mean they're not gonna be funded if we say no.
we do have a question that's pretty close to this already in there.
What
that
page,
last
where are you
one.
at?
Availability of other or additional sources of funds to fund applicants. Last one at the bottom.
Yeah, but that's one we're talking about
That's,
now.
yeah, I already said that and
Yeah.
that didn't fly.
So, but that's, I think it's fine, and you know, I can, like I said, I can just ask the question when it comes up. Would this project happen with or without ARPA funds?
Yeah, I see the last question is not really being a question, it's more of.
But to your point about the fire truck, how do we know, how is Chief Hayes gonna know he's gonna get a fire truck without ARPA funds?
Well,
How's he gonna know that?
he could look at the statistical history of the town with regards to Prop 2.5 votes and see the probability of which the town votes for stuff over just flat dollar amounts with Prop 2.5.
Right.
Yeah,
Which,
But he's still not gonna know.
no, but it's more probable than not that, yeah,
That's also not a fact, that's odds making. Like, you can't do that and be like, this vote is definitely gonna go this way or other. You can come up with some pretty good betting odds, be like 3-2 odds this passes, but
okay. Anything else on C or D?
Alright, hearing nothing, then this sounds good. I will make these changes and send them out. And hopefully someone can, other than me, will be posting this to the website.
Okay.
I will copy Ryan on it too.
could I get a motion to approve the application with the discussed amendments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay. Before we go backtrack to that one, we'll just double check here. So final dates for applications released, so we'll do that, hopefully by the end of the week and get that out by the 1st. Does that sound reasonable to you, Susan, to make those changes
Yeah,
in the next day or two?
Yeah, I'm gonna make them either, no, I'll make them tonight.
Okay. Working session online here will be.
I wasn't gonna do it online. I
Do you wanna do it in
thought
person?
about that and decided that it should be in person.
Do you agree with that, Mike? Cause I know both of you were very much in support of this.
And if I listened correctly to the May 11th meeting, I believe I'm the one who's doing the workshop, aren't I right?
With Mike.
Oh,
I'm
with
happy-
Mike?
I'm
Oh, you're
happy to
doing
help
it
you.
too? Oh,
Yeah.
you're a good sport. Oh,
Sure.
okay, good. I knew
Sure.
I knew I wasn't here,
As
so.
long as it's
and
on
I-
the date that I can.
And I
that
knew,
won't
and
be.
so I knew I was in for it.
And the workshop is the 20th, right?
That's what it's a suggestion.
Roughly, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see.
I hope it's a Wednesday.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Okay.
Okay, so then we just need to check with Ryan to make sure that there's space in the building on the 20th that's available. Okay.
Did you want to start that at 6?
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 6 to 9. Is that all right?
I can't imagine it'll be 3 hours at the end of the day, cause I don't think you have that many people.
You
So-
never know on that. It's literally putting a sign out that says free money.
Fair, okay.
Yeah, but the punishment is they have to spend time with me.
Yeah.
It's in my
So are you gonna run like a course, like a class, or are you just
No,
gonna
we're
be
Here to
available
gonna
application.
help you with your
What's-
application.
Okay.
What's your-
Tax assistance.
What's your
Tax
problem?
assistance, exactly, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Alright, due date is August 1st at 4 p.m. Review for completeness we have as August 9th. We originally talked about a 2-week window, but we just talked about a 1 week, which I still think is fine. That's the 16th.
Yeah, I thought that gave us an extra week in case we needed it for some reason.
Did you wanna do a 2-week window instead of a 1-week
No,
window
I was
for
just saying it,
revisions?
for some reason we were overwhelmed with applications.
Oh.
We then had that following week to schedule something if we needed it.
Yeah, having some slack time built in there in case there are issues wouldn't hurt.
Do we want to, we have application review, we were originally thinking the 16th, cause that's when the last of the pieces are in, and the recommendations, we do the September 1st we have here. Do we wanna say recommendations or ARPA committee, meetings with applicants?
Oh, no, not, recommendations isn't meeting with applicants, we're done.
No.
Okay,
on
so
the
you're,
first. The deliberations would be, would
Be
be
the
our
16th.
meetings and presumably anybody who wanted, applicants who wanted to come to them
okay.
would come to them.
So do we think from the 16th to the 1st is enough time, or do we think we gotta push them?
Push
them-
who?
Push,
Well, I'm sorry, from the 16th to the 1st, do we think we have enough time between those 2 meetings to be able to have final recommendations to the
we're
select
gonna have our
board?
final recommendations on the 16th, aren't we? Aren't we gonna do it on the 16th?
We're gonna theoretically.
Thinking that if we had 50 applications and it's a 16th, then we would roll out another meeting to clean it up, but we would be done we would be done at that last meeting,
September 1st. Okay.
or August 30th, or whatever day it is.
Yeah, we probably should double check, cause I don't know what the date September 1st is. I remember Labor Day is gonna be
I wasn't-
around there.
No, I thought I wasn't a dope, but I was a dope for August, so I can't be trusted for, September 1st is a Thursday. I don't know what happened to me for August.
That's the
but-
first Thursday of the month though, right?
Yeah,
So Chris is gonna have a planning board meeting.
we're not meeting.
Oh, September
We're not-
first,
we're
we're,
not
oh,
meeting.
you think we're gonna be done
We
the
are
16th?
we are going to give the recommendations will have been written up and will be presented, delivered to Ryan or somebody on the first.
Select board, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking.
I would just, in front of that word schedule, I would say tentative.
Yeah, it's getting more and more confusing as we talk here.
Just throw tentative in front of the schedule on the instruction sheet if you could, Susan.
Alright, well, that makes me
With-
nervous because then now my application due date sounds wiggly.
Yeah. The
What
due
I can-
process things can't be tentative.
What I can do is say that we will have, an 9/16 and possible 23rd, August 23rd meeting. Do you want me to do that?
Sure. So it'd be 3 meetings in a row if we needed them.
Yeah.
I just get nervous when you say 50 applications.
We aren't gonna get 50 applications.
I don't think you're gonna get anywhere near 10.
Fair. Alright.
Alright, so let's review this one more time, just so we're clear on it, please. Applications are due on the 1st. ARPA committee deliberates, we get together on the 7th. We deliberate and review the applications for completeness on the 7th,
That's the 9th,
the 9th, I'm sorry. Get back to people
right away,
right away, make your corrections by the 16th.
yes.
Then we deliberate and make our recommendations to the select board.
Correct.
There is no conversation in this first page about, notices of deficiency and opportunity to correct. Do you want me to add that in?
Do we wanna let people know ahead of time that they're gonna have a week to correct it?
Did they get a
Yeah,
second,
for sure.
second bite?
Sure.
Yeah.
Alright.
We're gonna be going back and amending a motion. That's great. We'll wait, just in case there's more. Alright, so now we're gonna back up here to item 5. We're all good. Any more questions on the dates? We all good with all those dates?
Yes.
Okay, so back up, discussion of matrix scoring or ranking. So, once we get these applications, how do we plan to proceed? Once we've ruled them in, right? So,
We
in
did the
or out?
workshop.
Yep. Do the workshop, the applications are due, we looked at them, we let people know their deficiencies, everything is finalized on the 16th. We either have applications we're gonna act on or applications that are rejected for
Mhm.
failure of
Whatever.
non-completeness. So of those applications that we said are complete, how do we wish to proceed with looking through them?
Are we gonna do that with the applications that are complete and not the applications that are incomplete?
Well, I think
Or
by,
should we do them all as one big
We're doing
group?
them all as one big thing.
Yeah,
but I think as of the 16th, well, I thought our understanding was we're not even looking at things until they're complete, and if they're not complete on the 16th, we pay them no time.
Correct.
Correct.
So I would say come the 16th, whatever packet we have of complete applications, that's all we care about. Anything else
Right.
that was submitted and wasn't fixed,
right.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna consider completed applications that come in the 7th prior to the 16th.
correct. We
Okay.
would look at everything as a whole together in the 16th.
Yes.
But the question then becomes, we have this packet of these applications, whether they be 10 or what have you. These are completed applications. Now what are we doing with them?
We're
What
going-
order are we reviewing them, and what are we doing with them as we review them? Are we planning to do any, are we gonna do a scoring system, forced ranking
Ah.
system? We talked about, we didn't seem to love the matrix last time, so we wanted to get away from that. But what are we doing with these pieces to both kind of, govern conversation? Or are we doing something as simple as when all the applications came in, they time-stamped them, we take them in order of the first received to the last received, and we then review each one
On
and
its merits.
move on from there, and then we get through all of them, and then we
Right,
deliberate.
and I think we will kind of naturally come up with a pile of, yeah, this isn't probably gonna meet criteria, this sounds like a really good thing, and then we're gonna have to sit down and do some math and figure out which ones we can
We will make the
appropriately fund.
sausage.
So,
Are you suggesting that earlier completed applications get priority from a completed application that's submitted subsequently?
no, I'm trying to figure out a way we're gonna look at these, Chris.
What order?
So,
Who do we start?
which one do we
I-
start with, right?
I think we, after everything is closed and we have our list of applications, we're gonna have a stack, is we're gonna go through each one individually.
Yeah.
In what
and-
order, Mike?
I don't think we need an
What
order.
order, why do we need an order? We're gonna consider them all at the same, as a batch.
It
Oh.
depends if there's more requests than we have money.
Right.
Which there is, we already know the answer, is
Yeah.
there is, even if there's only one request submitted for a fire truck, it's more than we have.
Well,
Right.
because then we'll have to decide, well, are we gonna fund all of these in part? Or are we gonna just knock off the bottom, whatever we consider the bottom to be?
I
and
think, no,
how
I
are we
think,
gonna
I think
have
what's
that consensus?
happening is that we're gonna have a pile in no particular order, in some random order that just showed up. We're gonna handle these things more than once. We're gonna look at this and say, this is not complete.
Yeah, but
And out it
once we've
goes.
gone through let's say
Right.
we've gone through that,
Then
we just have
so we've
complete.
weeded out the non-completes. Now
Yeah.
we've got a,
Yes,
now
a
we've got
completed
now we've got a
stack.
different pile that we've all determined these things are complete. Now we're gonna look at them and it's complete, but this doesn't meet the criteria.
So,
But doesn't
do-
meet, so if
And
it's
then that
complete though,
goes-
how does it not meet the criteria?
You could have a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement that shows no lost revenue. So we're gonna look at that and go,
yeah, I don't think, we're not weeding those out at the workshop. The workshop is there for us to say, you need to provide this information. We're not going to then check their math at that stage. So it will be complete when they submit it, because it'll have a profit and loss. But we'll look at it at that point, once it's complete, and go, wait a minute, this is bullshit. And discard it or decline it, right? So I think what we should probably be looking at is, do we, if you want to kind of come up with a method of looking at the list of completed applications, is do we do it by town, not town? Or do we do it by capital expenditure, non-capital expenditure? I mean, there's a number of different ways to do it, or, as we pointed out, we could just say, we'll go by each one on their merits, and, as we go along, maybe we'll put into a couple of separate piles and then re-review. Because we do have a limited amount of money. One application might be a very valid application that might then take up all that money.
The other thing that we could do is each have a pile, rank them ourselves, and then fight over it,
In a
Well,
cage match.
One
Yeah,
of,
preferably.
well, one of the suggestions I think Chris had last time we brought this discussion to the table was doing ranked voting.
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand that correctly, what we could theoretically do is if you have a pile of 10, right?
Mhm.
We each then have a few minutes to, maybe we ask all the questions, we go through all the applications as a whole, we don't make any decisions yet. We get through all the applications and then each of us choose, our top 3. These are the 3 that I think we should fund.
Mm-hmm.
And then we put those into the center of the table and figure out, the one who has the most votes from all 5 of us.
That makes me nervous because that starts to feel to me like we're not considering everybody all at once. What I'm suggesting is a slate.
But
Because we need to come up with a number of 400 and whatever change.
But we would be considering everyone theoretically all at once. I mean, everyone's gonna have a different, what I worry about is going into this without some systematic way to rely on it. The reason it becomes important, we know right now from CARES Act funding, this was money we got the first year of COVID, that they're starting to do audits. And they're looking at everything. I talked to Ryan the other day, we were audited for a $40 Zoom fee, right? Like, why do you need Zoom? I don't know, it's COVID, I think that's how we could be, anyway. But, you know, they were looking at things as minute as $40, you know,
Who
and
was doing the audit?
the state,
Okay.
A&F, whatever it is, the department. Anyway, so they did those pieces, but then
Hello.
we had one that, you know, audited,
Can we help you?
Board of Health meeting,
Oh,
oh, what time's your Board of Health meeting?
7:30?
7:00
Oh,
oh,
Oh.
here.
I guess we need to wrap up.
Well, let me go check and see if we're not at the town, if they came in and we usually meet at the town hall, but we had to move here.
oh,
So, I'll just go over there and check.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe they're over there. There's a lot of cars in the parking lot, so I'm thinking there's more than you guys.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to wrap up soon anyway, but
That's okay. I just wanna make sure that, you know, we're doing stuff in a, logical, you know, documented methodology,
Okay.
yeah.
if that makes sense.
I wanna be fair and equitable to all applicants.
That's fine.
I just don't know if there's a blanket process that makes that happen.
How do we do, back to my original math problem, how do we do ranked voting with a cap on the dollar amount?
So,
Mm.
easy.
Especially if we have more asks than we have money.
Easy. So if each of us, let's say each of us come up with our top 3 projects, right?
Mm-hmm.
We put them in the room or whatever we're gonna do, and we say, okay, this one has 4 votes, this one has 2 votes, this one has 2 votes, that one has 1 vote. Start with the one that has 4 votes, and look at it, and if we have, you know, do the shopping list. If it says 4 votes, we have $400,000, and this is $20,000, fully funded, next project. 2 votes. And so forth.
well, the challenge with that is that you know the fire truck is coming, and we all think that's a pretty important thing, I think. And if that gets the majority of 5 votes on that, then everybody else's application is useless.
That's fair. I don't know if it's gonna get 5 votes.
Right, but if it gets 4 votes, that's the majority. If it gets 3 votes, that's still a majority.
And
We throw out all the subsequent
Right.
applications
One
because
of
there's no
the-
more funding.
that's why I'm thinking of a slate, because what I would do, in that particular example, is, if I liked, let's say I liked all 10 projects, but all 10
Mhm.
projects together are whatever, $1 million, cause we got a fire truck and some other stuff. I might prorate these things to fall within my
Budget.
$400,000 limitation.
That's an
And
option.
remember, we're
So-
making recommendations to the select board. We can recommend that the fire truck passes, and here are the following things, and they might turn around and say, no, we're going to fund that using actual town money, and then now they have a list of other things that can be funded.
Well, I know the select board, at least the body as a whole, this past fiscal year was very interested in the process.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know how we, as a whole, they were concerned with how we got to the decisions we got to. Was it fair? Was it equitable? When were things due? Was everything considered at the same time? And then what process? And we
Mhm.
went through for those first, specifically those first ones, very carefully, you know, how we ranked them, how we got into the score for each of them, how each of us scored it, the scores are added together, and then the consolidated score is the order in which we reviewed the projects and then potentially funded the project. So they were very interested in that and having the process, and I think especially with audits looming, I think we need to have an agreed upon process before we start, so whatever it may be.
And I think I hear what you're saying. I think the only observation I would make with round 1 is that we were not limited. And that facilitated that approach. We don't know if we're going to be in that situation again this time or not, fire truck notwithstanding.
Other thoughts?
Especially if fire truck decides to modify its ask to to be something less than the full cost of the fire truck because free cash, because I don't know, you know, because some other thing that Ryan cooks up.
Other thoughts?
I like your thought, you know, to have a process that we can stand by and justify for future potential audits. I'm not really sure I heard one yet, or a good one yet,
Yeah.
or one I like yet.
What one's cooking in your brain, KP?
I don't really have one. I mean, I think they should all be considered. I like where Susan started, you know,
Well, I like
considering everything as a batch, you know.
and I think we could do that.
I think ranking them, you know, I think I already spoke to how I feel about ranking them. You know, partially funding is another good thing. I mean, we don't have to fund 100% of the requests, but, you know.
I think
I just don't know how the lesser, I wanna make sure the lesser value applications get the same consideration and opportunity
Mm-hmm.
than the fire truck, the quote, fire truck.
Then do you
Cause
want?
we know
I
that's
think,
elephant
I
in
think
the
everyone,
room,
everyone deserves a fair shot
and
at the
can
trough.
deplete the, and can deplete the whole nut.
Well, I think that's why we're not. I think, as I understand, we're not planning to rank anything till we've reviewed all the applications as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so everyone would have a fair shot.
Maybe that will then inform what process we take after we review the applications that come in.
What I worry about is it seems like that could be a selective shopping technique, right? Or someone could critique it as such. If we wait to create the ranking system until we've seen all of them, and now we create the ranking system, at least to each of us in our own heads, of how do we get the projects we want to do and how do we justify it based on the ranking system, as opposed to having the ranking system in place ahead of time before we see what even projects are submitted.
Yeah, but we're making assumptions right now based on the fact that there will be a fire truck application. And if there is a fire truck application and we all decide, well, we probably should fund it, then everything after that is moot, right? So we're already ranking right now based on something that we have no information on. I would rather be informed on what we actually are ranking on. Doesn't necessarily mean I have to go into detail, but at least having a list of what things are. Maybe not even the dollar amounts, just a list of what things are. I don't know.
Would it make sense to use some of the time that we have between now and when these are due to research a couple algorithms and meet again with a few potential algorithms and vote on one? Because there are ways to make this decision. There's whole things in data science on it, on how to try to do it fairly and not
Mhm.
give deference to anyone. So it seems like we get a few possible algorithms, a few possible ways to sort, and debate those, because I don't know that we're gonna have a super productive discussion about it right now without additional research.
I'm okay with that for our meeting on the 9th as the first item before we jump into our packets.
The 9th of which month are you talking about?
August.
Okay.
No one wants to meet again unless we have to. It's summertime.
Not necessarily true.
But
I enjoy
August
these
is the
meetings.
good month.
KP likes coming to meetings, so.
And as far as algorithms go, I'm not gonna be very helpful with that. So if that's something you're good at.
Yeah, not really. But I can read things.
That's something you're good at.
Not particularly.
I guess I'm not warm to it because this is inherently subjective. It has to be.
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah, but even when we did, so I know the matrix.
I mean, as best evidence of subjectivity, we ranked them and then ignored it.
Yeah.
So,
But we didn't ignore it, we reviewed them in the order in which they were ranked.
and then ignored the ranking when we approved them,
But we didn't.
but we did.
We went through, but no, that's the order we went through, and then if they didn't hold up steam, then we ruled them out and said next.
Yeah, if we didn't kick a couple out, we would have ran out of money before we went through all the applications. So, the ranking that we went through, the order in which we reviewed them was the decision criteria for who got paid and who didn't. We just threw a couple out so we had more money than applications.
Well, I don't think that's why we threw them out, we threw them out for various reasons.
Yeah, we threw them out for various reasons, but the fact that we threw them out is why the review order did not become a key factor in terms of who got money and who didn't. But if we didn't kick a couple out, it absolutely would have been. Which arguably would have been a shame because we would have missed out on pretty much all the business ones.
No, do we wanna discuss how we're going to do this at another meeting, cause I have a dinner that's waiting for me.
I don't want to, but we can. Do we wanna hold another meeting between now and August 9th, or do we wanna wait and make it the first item on August 9th's meeting? What
If
is
we
the
can
desire?
figure it out ahead of time, it would be more fair to the applicants.
Why don't we do this, so that we don't have a quorum and communicating. Everyone take a little time, KP, Google is where I recommend you start, type the word algorithm.
I spell.
Yeah, it will spell check when you start typing. Why don't we give it about a week, and anyone who finds anything, pop it over to me. If we have enough to go on, then we'll call a meeting prior
Okay.
to August 9th. And there's no point in setting up a date ahead of time, cause I always change it every time, so it's a fun activity, not necessary. Alright, that being said, matters not recently anticipated by the chair. Alright, hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion seconded, we're adjourned, or, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Now we're adjourned, thank you, 7:12.